Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back to Fueling Your Legacy. Today is a fantastic day. It was raining a little bit. Got to go on a long drive up to the mountains and visit the snow, which I was super excited about. I love the snow. I just wish it would snow more in the valley, except for it makes driving a little bit difficult. So hopefully, I still want it to snow. Forget driving. I'll sit in the house all day. But this week is awesome. We're talking about health and talking about how our gut actually controls a lot of our thoughts, hormones, the way we interact, the way we act in the world. And today is a book review on the plant paradox. But before we hop into that, I want to just do a quick, public service announcement. We had an episode a few episodes ago by Stephanie Eileth and myself. And on the episode, we threw out a challenge, and that was that for everybody who listens to that episode, people should take a screenshot and tag Stephanie and myself in the photo and post on social media, either on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or something like that. And Nalida Cardinelli, she did fulfill the challenge. She posted, and we are so grateful for that. However, she was the 98th listener, so she didn't actually get the bonus of the 100th listener was going to get a book. Now we're at about 108 listens, but the 100th listener didn't post on social media, so I can't give them the gift. And so what I'm going to do instead is the next person who listens to that episode, if you've already listened to it, please be honest. But if you haven't listened to it, the next person to listen to that episode and screenshot it and post it on social media and tell all of their friends how awesome this podcast is, then I will be sending you your very own copy of the book, Think and Grow Rich. This book has changed my life, and I'm super grateful for it. It's changed millions of people's lives, and helped them gain a better understanding of their potential, what they're able to accomplish, not just from a financial standpoint. I think some people hear that title and they think it's all about financial wealth. That book is a lot about financial wealth, but it's also about just wealth in general, and specifically rich in all areas of your life: faith, family, fitness, finance, all of it. And how do you create a wealthy and a rich life in all things? If you say something is a rich chocolate cake, it's not financially rich chocolate cake. It's just like a really potent, great, full chocolate cake. And so Think and Grow Rich will change your life. But to obtain that, I need you to tag myself and Stephanie Eileth in the post so that we know that you listened to it, and you will get the next one. There is a chance to win another book at listen number 200. So we will keep that on track, and I will go back and just keep posting this as many times as we get there. But that's pretty awesome to whoever the next listener is. So that's the first thing. Also, my website, samuelknickerbocker.com, will be live by the end of this week. So stay tuned for that. That's pretty exciting. We put a lot of work into it. There's still a lot more to come, but we are going to get the bare bones up and running, give you guys some little tidbits and direction on my story, more in depth, how I help my clients, and what I look for when I'm looking to work with somebody. And if they are wanting to work with me, there will be a little application there so they can also go on and see if they are eligible for a meeting with myself and a little strategy session. I want to be able to help as many people out as possible create their legacy. So as they listen to this and they take advantage of this offer right now, then I'm willing to spend about 15 to 30 minutes with you doing a free legacy strategy session, and we'll find out where your goals are. If there's a way that we can help you further, I'd love to do so. If not, then we'll let you go on your way. But I want you guys to be aware of that. Also, there will be a link on there finally to my free ebook that is going to be there. And then also there is going to be a webinar coming soon of some of the reasons and some of the things that hold people back to achieving their legacy and creating their legacy. And so I'm going to go over that and help people blow through some of their limiting beliefs, help them overcome and start to have more confidence in themselves and their ability to add value to this world. Because it's not necessarily about money, it's about how much value are you adding. And so that's really what I'm going to be focusing on my webinar, and how you can do that, how you can get past some of your limiting beliefs that hold you back. And believe me, some people don't like that term, like, oh, I don't have limiting beliefs. Trust me, I personally have tons of limiting beliefs. Every time you reach the next level, you confront yourself with a new limiting belief. So don't think like, oh, I don't have limiting beliefs, I'm perfect, right? Nobody thinks that, not even the best people. If you go talk to Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone or any of these people, right? Everybody has limiting beliefs and everybody is constantly being challenged. The difference is at what level or how deep or how much are you able to accomplish? What limiting beliefs are you actually working on right now? And so don't feel bad by the term limiting beliefs. We all have them, but this is a good way to get started into creating your legacy and to blow past some of those initial limiting beliefs that hold all of us back. They definitely held me back when I was just starting my career as somebody who's out helping families, first with helping them protect their house from bugs and things, but then also moving into the financial space, helping people get their financial house in order so that they could live their meaningful legacy. So those are all going to be on there. Super excited for those. I can't wait to get your feedback on how helpful they were for you, the life-changing things that have been able to help you accomplish, and see how your business grows as a result of that. Getting back to the purpose of today, though, because today we get to talk about one of my new favorite books. It's very, very enlightening. I am a researcher by I guess, my natural source or thing that I like to do. I love to learn, and I'm always seeking new knowledge or better ways of doing something. For me personally, when we get into the realm of health, I've been like a stick in the mud, honestly, when it comes to my health, because I don't think there's one size fits all. And I hear all these diets and the people who think, oh, do this exercise plan, eat this, don't eat that, whatever. And I just think there's no way that that plan, whether it's veganism or vegetarian or Atkins or I don't know, Optavita. I mean, there's just all these different things where people are going on these diets, these crazed diets, and they aren't really accomplishing anything. They work for certain people, but then they don't work for everybody. And so if something doesn't work for everybody, then I'm very, very cautious of the process. Okay. And for me, that's why I have really put off even taking care of my own health, which is, I'm not saying is a great idea, but it's definitely led me to just kind of do what I feel is best, do what feels great in my body and not else. But it's also left me questioning a lot, because I personally have some gastrointestinal issues. And that may be TMI, but it's just facts, right? Something I live with, something my wife lives with, something we live with in our family. And if I could figure out how to remove that pain, then that would be fantastic. And it wasn't until recently that I finally found a system or a concept or a practice that I feel confident in is going to be able to help me accomplish that. And that's why I'm bringing you this today and sharing this with you, because this book, The Plant Paradox by Dr. Grundy, really addresses a lot of those things. It addresses the plant lectins that are on all of the different plants and things that we take in, goes into the chemical structures, the way our body's structured, the way evolutionarily, that's a hard word for me, evolutionarily that we have become into being, and the way our relationship is with plants and other animals, things like that. And it really focuses on what's known as microbiome, or the bacteria in your gut. There's millions more bacteria in your gut than there are brain cells in your head. And so there's now a debate in the health community. I don't know if I would say the medical community, but for sure the health and research community of whether your brain that we all consider our brain is actually the thing in control of our bodies, or if our gut and the microbiome are in control of our bodies, and they are sending signals to neuron signals through the vagus nerve up to the brain about which hormones to create, which then impacts how we think, how we act, how clear our brain is, our memory, our ability to learn new skills, our focus. All these different things is really being created by the messages that our brain is receiving from our gut. And so with that kind of as a precursor, this book is just really transforming the way that I think about things. One of the major takeaways that I've gotten from it so far is to be more conscious of when I'm eating fruit, and to make sure that I'm eating fruit in its time and season. We live in a world now that we can have oranges from Costa Rica, we can have butter from Africa, we can have whatever, right? We can have all these fruits and things, and they can all be on our plate all at once, which in some cases is a benefit, right? And a huge benefit and I think in a lot of cases, it's actually removed a lot of illness, and there's some significant benefits. So I'm not trashing the benefits. However, I do think it's important to recognize that from an evolutionarily perspective, we're not designed for that. We're still new to this whole thing where we have such easy access to things. Even 200 years ago, you didn't have the ability to have a fruit platter with fruits from all different countries, all different locations, all in one place, out of season. And there was not a way to store and transfer and make sure all these fruits showed up perfectly for someone. And that is more of a recent phenomenon as far as human history goes. And so our bodies were not designed for it. They're still adjusting to it. And that's something to be aware of. And so eating fruit in the season that it's naturally there and being picked in its natural season. A lot of things, I love apples. So I eat a lot of apples. And something I have noticed with apples, and also I've noticed this with oranges, is sometimes we get these apples from the store and they are just not good. And you can tell they have a super waxy film on them, like they've just been like dipped in wax almost to make sure they preserve themselves. But they also, the color is just, it's like honestly looks like it's painted on. And although it's not painted on, what does happen is they spray chemicals on our food, and the chemicals are basically to trigger the color of the food changing color, so that it will look appealing to our eyes and to our stomachs, so that we'll want to eat it. The problem is that fruit, when it was picked, wasn't actually ripe. It wasn't actually ready to be eaten. And so the plant, from a survival technique, has actually either coated it or injected that fruit with what are called lectins. And these lectins, in a lot of cases, are harming us because our body and our microbiome wasn't designed to actually process a lot of these lectins. And so they will break down our system, and they'll create a lot of issues, either autoimmune diseases or just regular diseases, colds, flu, all these different things. They'll come from the food that we're eating. And so that is one thing that just really stuck out to me. One of the phrases he uses, and I just love the imagery of this, is basically where we're at right now with our food intake I'll say specifically in America, but really all over the world, is it's like speed dating evolutionarily with new foods, right? We're going through them so fast that our body isn't actually prepared to handle them, adjust, and process these foods super healthily. And so that's something that I'm going to be working on, is being more conscious of when I'm eating. That will mean a cut down in my apple intake, which is a little sad because I really like apples. But I think I will like having a healthy stomach and not as much gastrointestinal pain better. And so that's something I'm going to work on. Another thing that he talks about is some of the different grains and the whole food diet that we've been kind of fed and that's been promoted in America. And he has a different spin on that. I'm going to let him defend his position there. So I'm going to encourage you guys to all go out and get the book and listen to it at the very least. If not, read it, take notes. It does get pretty technical. I generally like audiobooks because I can listen to them a lot faster, but some books I have to slow down just because they're so technical, and the parts that are moving are so interesting. Another thing that stuck out to me in this book was the idea of food intake and what's really going on. And he uses the analogy of, if you have a road, we'll say, I don't know if you've ever driven between Baltimore and DC, but there's a tunnel for the cars to drive on that goes underneath the ocean, and then you come up on the other side, and it's a tube. There's also one of these between England and France. It's called the Tube, and there's like a train that just goes high speeds on the bottom of the seabed there. Well, imagine your body is the ocean, okay? And when you eat food, the food goes into the tube and then comes out the other end, right? Same as food or cars going into this tube and coming out from England, coming out in France, or from Baltimore coming out in DC. And so the point is that the food that's going through you is really still on the outside of your body. It's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but the food that's going through you, the inside of your intestines, is still protected, just like the outside of your skin is. And it only wants to absorb the healthy nutrients. But just like anything, if you have something bad sitting there long enough, it's going to absorb it. Okay, so it's important that we're feeding our bodies healthy food, because if we don't, then eventually that food that's been sitting in our intestinal tract will actually be absorbed into our body, and that's what we don't want if our optimal goal is health. And so that's something else that they mentioned. And then they actually get into a lot of the painkiller drugs and things like that, how they're affecting our health and our gut and killing off different microbiomes in our body. One of the things that is interesting, I have some family and friends that have gluten intolerances, and we all as humans have gluten intolerances. It's something that our body was not designed for from an evolutionary perspective. And so now we're all dealing with it. Well, some people will go on these gluten-free diets so that they can avoid this gluten because it's so bad for them, which I'm not disagreeing with them. It is bad for them. But if you were instead to heal all the microbiome and make sure that it was well balanced inside your gut, and that all the biome that needed to be there were there, then you wouldn't have as big of a problem with this gluten in your life. But because we don't do that, people will go off gluten, and then the microbiome that was in your gut to take care of all the gluten, well, they just disappear because they're starving. Those microbiome, those bacteria, they only feed on gluten. And so when you remove the gluten, those microbiome die. And then when you eat gluten again, that's when you have these horrific reactions to gluten, because now your body's even less prepared for it than it was before. And so what I like about Dr. Grundy's work is that he's talking about having a well-balanced approach, a well-balanced diet, not like not these crazy overhauls and removing all these wonderful things out of your diet, but being more selective about how you're intaking them, when you're intaking them, and thus the plant paradox, right? Because even though all these things can have a negative benefit, they also have vitamins and things that we need into our diet. And so he goes over that and why it's the actual paradox, where you can't have one or the other. You have to kind of join both opposites and somehow make it work together. So huge, life-changing for me. I love the book. I'm going to get more into the microbiome and actually get a test done. You can get tests done from microbiome on your own microbiome and see what is inside of yourself through a company called Viome. And this was created by a gentleman named Naveen Jain. This is where I first heard of the microbiome, and he's created a company. His goal is that within the next 10 to 15 years, he wants illness, especially chronic illness, cancers, autoimmune diseases, things like that, to be optional, right? You may not choose to heal yourself from them, but he wants you to have the choice to make that. And so he's aggressively chasing down the research and the science to make sure that we can live a happier, healthier life and die younger, right? So even though we're going to have an older age, a later age. We want to, when we die, be a young biological age inside of ourselves. So those are some things that just stuck out to me with the plant paradox. It's like a 10-hour long book. So definitely go pick it up, because there's no way I could review all of it and share all of the goodies in it, and nor would I want to. I think it's important for us to discover these things for ourselves and make sure that we're growing that way. But that being said, this week we are going to have an awesome guest on Friday. He is a functional medicine doctor. His name is Erik. I'm going to butcher his last name, but it's Schlobohm. And he is, as I said, functional health doctor and chiropractor, and has been helping clients overcome a lot of diseases and things just by how he helps them from chiropractic perspective and the functional medicine perspective. But it's just incredible. He really knows his stuff. He understands and researches, geeks out on this stuff, could stay up till 3 a.m. Instead of watching Netflix, he'd be reading the research of the microbiome and how to effectively help a client navigate through theirs and make sure that they're healing their body from the inside out. And so it's a pleasure to have him on there on Friday. Look forward to that. And then also for all of you guys, please go on and rank and review this podcast. Leave some reviews on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, the different places that you listen, so we can get this out to more people. We are about the first month through the year, and we still have a long way to go to reach our goal of 250,000 downloads for the podcast this year. So that it will only be possible, 1, if I continue to add value, and 2, if I get feedback from you guys on what value you find helpful and what value you think, Sam, you don't need to share that as much. So please give your feedback. I love to hear it, and love to see how we can add more value into your lives and make sure that you are building a meaningful legacy, living a meaningful legacy, and that you're able to help other people fuel their meaningful legacy. So have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you on Friday. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.